In England, they have a two-part system. There's solicitors and barristers. Solicitors strictly law office, wills, trusts, and they can get a case ready for it to go into trial. But you need a separate bar exam to become a barrister. Barrister is the attorney who takes all the stuff from the solicitor and he or she actually tries the case.
Right.
Now, that's a very good system. So when you go to a barrister, you know you're going to somebody who specializes in their trade is actual trials. We don't have that in this country. So like 1 week after you pass the bar exam, you can try a murder case.
Hi, and welcome to Main Street AI, the podcast where traditional businesses are quietly revolutionizing their operations with artificial intelligence and winning. In this podcast, I sit down with industry leaders to explore their AI journey. We dive into the opportunities they see, the challenges they're navigating, and the real impact of AI on their industries. Whether you're AI curious or ready to implement, this show brings you insights from leaders who are actually using this technology to serve customers better, empower employees, and drive profitable growth. James Bendell is a solo litigator based in Western Washington and North Idaho with over 40 years of trial experience spanning prosecution, insurance defense, and plaintiff work. He's also served as a Superior Court Commissioner and a Judge Pro Temp, meaning he's occupied all three roles in a courtroom: prosecutor, defense, plaintiff attorney, and judge. His practice is 100% trial work, split between personal injury and general civil litigation, including probate disputes, construction claims, and defamation cases. Andy makes a point I haven't heard anyone else articulate quite this clearly. The American legal system doesn't distinguish between attorneys who try cases and those who don't, unlike England's solicitor and barrister system. That means a client has to know the right questions to ask, and most don't. And on the technology side, he uses AI in real time during trial, running searches from his laptop to challenge claims as they're being made in the courtroom. Let's dive in. Hi, welcome back to the Main Street AI podcast. This is Stephen Whittier with Satori Coach IO. Today I'm joined by James Bendell of Bendell Law Firm. James, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well.
Fantastic. Could you go ahead and tell us what you do with your firm from high level?
So I'm a litigator. 100% of my practice is trial work. And about half of that is personal injury cases. The other half is just about any type of litigation, probate disputes, construction claims. About the only thing I don't do workers' comp and divorce. Other types of litigation I handle.
Okay, great. And solo firm, or do you have any junior
I'm a
associate?
solo practitioner, and I have a paralegal assistant.
Okay. One thing I always like to ask is, a lot of times if you're speaking to a potential client and we're thinking of like, what do you wish that they knew? For somebody that isn't a legal expert, it's on the other side of the fence, what do they tend to misunderstand or underestimate about the work you do? Or what would you like them to know that maybe they often come to you not knowing?
Well, I think the biggest thing is trial experience. In England, they have a two-part system. There's solicitors and barristers. Solicitors strictly law office, wills, trusts, and they can get a case ready for it to go into trial. But you need a separate bar exam to become a barrister. Barrister is the attorney who takes all the stuff from the solicitor and he or she actually tries the case.
Right.
Now, that's a very good system. So when you go to a barrister, you know you're going to somebody who specializes in their trade is actual trials. We don't have that in this country. So like 1 week after you pass the bar exam, you can try a murder case. This is not really good. It ends up with people hiring attorneys who really don't have trial experience. And especially now, so many cases, civil cases and even criminal, are being resolved by formal court-ordered mediation. Less and less trials are taking place. So it's getting harder and harder for attorneys to get trial experience, because if you don't actually try cases, it's one of those things in life. Unless you do it and do it a lot, you're not going to do a good job for your client.
Right. Yeah, I can imagine that would make sense. As you said, just like anything else, you need repetition to build a certain particular skill set. It's a very
Yeah. Well, it's like
very
if you want to learn tango dancing, you got to do it, right?
right. So you would say that if you were speaking to a prospective client, you want to be able to seek out somebody who does have that specific litigator skill set that would be like the equivalent of the barrister in the UK.
Yeah, I mean, if I was a client, let's say I went to an attorney because there was a defect in the manufacture of my home. I would ask. And that kind of fight could sometimes settle with correspondence, but it may go to trial. So I'd ask the attorney, tell me about your trial experience. Now, I have no problems doing that. I've tried cases for over 40 years. I was a prosecutor for part of that time. I spent 16 years trying cases for insurance companies. When I was my office is in Western Washington, I was also a Superior Court Commissioner and Judge pro tem. So my whole professional life has been courtroom oriented. That's what I do. If you ask me to do a will, I don't do wills. In fact, my wife and we went to another attorney to do our will. I just do litigation.
Gotcha. That's interesting. You mentioned that too. You've actually been on the other side of the fence as a prosecutor, so that's very. You just kind of threw that in there, but that's actually pretty significant too.
Yeah, well, it's actually three sides of the fence: prosecution, defendant, or plaintiff, defendant, and in a judicial capacity.
Right.
So
that's right.
I filled all three roles.
Right. Very interesting. I'll turn over to kind of our core theme here, which is around really where technology is intersecting with professional services and in particular the legal domain. So what sort of trends are you seeing with AI right now? And, I'm interested in both kind of a broad spectrum that might be observations that are industry-wide or your own personal engagement with it or usage of it.
Well, first of all, I'd say AI has made a whole new world for legal research. When a client comes to me, I mean, a lawyer doesn't go to law school and memorize 17,000 volumes of law. You got to research. You got to look up when the client has a problem. The old days, we would go to law books, the law library, and it was pretty much taken over by computerized research. But still, before AI, it was kind of like Google. Google's great to find things out, and that made legal research a little bit more efficient. But now, when AI is put together legal research, it's, for example, I use Westlaw Precision. So I can ask Westlaw Precision a question with my client's facts. And my client was driving so and so forth. The police said this and that. Did my client violate any laws? That's a criminal case. Or in this situation, is my client civilly liable for damages? And Westlaw, the Westlaw Precision, and their side software called Co-Counsel, they go through thousands and thousands of pages of documents to come up with the answer. So I can get what used to be a 3 or 4 hour research question done in 15 minutes.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Totally.
So are you using it in any other capacities, or is that pretty much your main application right now?
I use it in other capacities. For example, if I'm looking for an expert in some particular discipline. Like I was talking to a client about handwriting, get an expert. What I'll do then is I have a subscription to ChatGPT, the $20 a month level, which definitely earns its keep. And I will ask the question of ChatGPT, like in the area of Eastern Washington, Northern Idaho, give me the list of any handwriting experts, and bloop, 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 bloop. And that is much more efficient than pouring through the yellow pages. In fact, I don't even think we own our office doesn't even have a phone book. I don't have a phone book at home. So
For you.
it's all, and ChatGPT is just so amazing. And I know there's other like Claude and Grok, and I assume they're equivalent. They probably jockey about who's better or who has more features. Some of them you can make drawings of famous people. I don't really need that in my law firm. So ChatGPT works for me.
What would you say that you're most excited about with the potential of where this technology is going for your field?
Well, basically, it's saving time. In other words, in 1 week, I can do the work of what in the past would take me 3 weeks. And the other thing is the Chat GPT. I could be in the middle of trial. I got to have my laptop with me, and somebody asks a question. I can do an AI search and say, "Hey, that's not true, Your Honor. This, if Your Honor looks at the record, the Seattle Times said this happened on this date. Only 5 boats were involved, not 2 boats." So, I mean, I use it in court right there.
Right. Absolutely. Do you have a sense of over the next, say, 5 years, what might be radically different than it is right now in the legal domain versus what will be the same?
You know, they keep coming up with so many new things I really can't predict. I mean, they're coming up with things that I never even thought of before.
Right.
And, legal research is one. Also, I use a program that I'm not sure if it's technically AI, but if I could type in a person's name and birth date or social security number, I will get a complete printout of where they live, if they've ever been charged with a crime, have they ever been in a foreclosure, have they ever filed bankruptcy,
Right.
and so forth. And so I don't know if that's strictly AI, but it's totally computerized, something that before uh, today's current computers, it was not possible to do. You could hire people, skip trace people. They charge you about $800 to do that. I can do it now in 10 minutes myself. Costs me nothing. I mean, I pay for all these subscriptions. I mean, I pay for, Westlaw Precision. I pay for the enhanced version of ChatGPT. So it's not like it's free, but in terms of what it does for you, it's just amazing.
Absolutely. I'll pivot over now and just do a little bit of more of a kind of a deep dive into your practice. Um, so I'm sure the litigation part is definitely going to be a piece of this, but I wanted to just drill down a little more. What would you say that you do with your firm that makes you unique? You do extraordinarily well that sets you apart from others.
Well, I guess it would have to be based on experience. I mean, somebody comes to me with a problem, the chances are over the last 40 years, I've dealt with that problem before. There are exceptions. People come in with new and curious issues, but that means that uh, working on the client's case, I have all my files are online. I have a paperless office. So I can say, that came up in the Jones case 4 years ago. So I go to the Jones case, all the pleadings are there, all the captions are there, the briefs are there, and I can piggyback all that knowledge from the Jones case to the client just comes in. And most for non-PI personal injury cases, I bill by the hour. If it takes me less time to do the work, the client's bill is less.
Absolutely. Um, what would you say is a particularly good example of an outcome that you've gotten for a client that you're particularly proud of?
Well, let me see. I got a $1.5 million judgment against a state foster home. Uh, they ran a foster home that you would take kids away from parents who were drugged, and they planned it with a couple of inappropriate people, and these people basically didn't send the kids to school, used them as mules to run their farm. So I got 1.5 million for that. I've got $1 million for a wrongful death case. Let me see, I've gotten, it's like I remember $75,000 for a motorcycle race. I got another wrongful death. I got a wrongful death judgment earlier this year for $275,000. So these are things that produce money for clients. I mean, really, it used to be, if you go back to medieval Europe, if an architect designed a house that collapsed, the result would be that the law would order the architect's house collapsed, sort of an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. Well, we don't live like barbarians anymore. So whatever happens to you, whether you're defamation, whether you were hurt in a car wreck, whether somebody interfered with your business, the remedy is you go to court, you have a trial, and either the judge or the jury awards your client money. And that's the only thing. Now, there are other remedies. For example, I don't do divorce law, but in divorce law, the judge would award primary custody of the children to either husband or wife. But I don't do divorce law. But so it sounds kind of crass, but what I do for the client, I either get them money or prevent them from losing money. Because if they're a defendant, they come to me, hey, I just got sued. They claim that I did ABC. It's not true. My job is to prevent them from losing money.
Absolutely. When it comes to growth for the practice, you said 40 years now, so you've had a very
Yeah.
robust run, right? 40 years experience.
Yeah.
My guess is you probably say I'm more in like a stability phase than a high growth phase. But you correct me if I'm wrong. What would you say?
Is the law business is so competitive that even to stay where you are, you have to do advertising and marketing.
Right.
The fact of the matter is that our society has produced too many lawyers. Like right now, where we live, North Idaho, near Spokane, there's a doctor shortage. There is not a lawyer shortage. Why did this happen? Well, because in order to go to law school, you need to first have a bachelor's degree, but it could be in anything. I have a bachelor's degree in history. You get a bachelor's degree in psychology, bachelor's degree in ancient Greek. All you have to do is apply, take the law school LSAT exam, and that score is given to the law school. You can go to law school. So what was happening over the last 20, 30 years is people would graduate with a bachelor's degree in, say, Aztec culture or something. Well, it might be very interesting, but you can't get a job. You can't even teach in a school because you need a teaching certificate. So what happened was people would say, I know, I'll be a lawyer. And so they would apply to law school. From the university standpoint, they make money running a law school because, like, if you have an engineering department, chemistry department, you've got to buy lab equipment. You have all kinds of electric devices. You have a lot of expense associated with it. At college or university, the expense they have is a room full of chairs and a desk, and then the law professor comes in and lectures. So they have very low overhead. So they charge tuition. So it's a moneymaker for colleges, and it's also a place for people with a bachelor's degree who can't find a job, and that's more true today than ever. That's an option for a person. I went to a seminar. Now this is 20 years ago that said that this country is graduating so many lawyers that if all the law schools stop right now and just let the people who graduated find law jobs, it would take 10 years before all of the positions were filled. So that all lawyers could get lawyer positions. So that's why people now with law degrees, sometimes they don't go into practicing law. Maybe they'll work for a business, maybe they'll go on Wall Street. So we do have too many lawyers. And we also have a litigious society. And we do, compared to other countries, our country is lawyers, clients are quick to sue.
Right. So bring it back to the growth question there. Based on all those insights, I think, if I could consolidate what you're saying, it's like based on these facts, with so many attorneys being in the market, that you don't really have the option of being just in a comfortable stability phase. You've got to you've got to stay on it.
But
Where
always marketing, always going to be marketing.
yeah. Where are you looking to grow the firm to over the next 12 months or so?
Well, I would like a larger percentage of my cases to be personal injury because I enjoy them the most and I have the most experience. Like I say, for 16 years, I tried cases for the insurance companies. So I know their perspective. I know how the adjusters think. And I've just been, I know medical, you almost get like half of a medical degree, litigating all these car accidents, crushed vertebrae, brain injuries, amputations, and so forth. Kind of, it's not really kind of a jury subject to talk about, but I'm good at it because I've done it a lot.
And if you had the ability to just wave a magic wand and fix one maybe limiting constraint or challenge that you're having in the business right now, maybe holding you back, what would that be?
I would say that marketing is very expensive because there are a lot of nationwide law firms that literally spend $100,000 a month on Google advertising. And so for a solo practitioner, it's harder to run up against that. That's why, in addition to PI, I do other types of litigation where there's not so much competition. The other problem is most calls you get for people who've been injured in a car wreck or something. Their injuries, they're real. I mean, it's real to have a sore back, but it's not large enough to make it financially feasible to go to trial. Because I got to pay doctors, I got to pay for depositions, I got to pay the court reporters, I got to pay a filing fee. And all this money has to be done, even if the person, has a tiny injury, they're out of work for a month. I can't litigate that case. Neither he or I can afford to litigate that case because of all the expenses associated with personal injury. Also, personal injury attorneys, typically bill on a contingent fee. So our recovery is 1/3 of the either settlement or jury verdict. Well, if I work on a $30,000 case for 14 months, take numerous depositions, spend 5 days in trial, and I get paid $10,000 for all that work, I'm losing money. So screening is extremely important. And it's sad because I have to tell some people, look, what happened to you is not right, but I can't afford to take it to trial. And insurance companies are now hip to that, and they just offer peanuts for small injury claims.
Interesting. And you had mentioned you want to get more on the PI side, but there's always that kind of cost benefit analysis.
That's right. Got to go, maybe out of 10 queries or calls from potential PI clients, 8 of them I won't take. They're just not financially feasible. Also, I may not take it because it's really my client was the fault of the accident, so he's not going to get anything. I mean, if he went through a red light and caused the crash, I'm sorry, you're not going to represent him because no jury's going to award money to somebody who went through a red light.
I understand. So where I always like to wrap on these interviews, James, is bringing it from talking about business and tech to the personal. So this is what's your big why question? So aside from wanting to be obviously a successful attorney with your firm, what would you say is your big motivating why for what you do?
Well, I like to go fishing and hunting. I like the outdoors, and I live in a beautiful part of the country where there's a lot of opportunities just to go even hiking on nature trails.
So that would be your ability to have a career that allows you to do those things.
Yeah, yeah,
Excellent.
yeah. Now, sometimes I don't get weekends. Sometimes if a trial's coming up, I have to work all the way through a weekend. But
Yeah.
on the flip side, sometimes things are slow. I can go out fishing for an afternoon when I don't have any obligations at work.
How can people best reach you to contact you about your legal services?
Sure. So my phone number is 208-981-0555.
Okay, great. And those will all go in the description for this recording as well. So, excellent, fantastic. Thanks for coming on today. Really appreciate talking to you.